Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving into a specific piece of source material. It makes a pretty interesting claim about a moment many of us notice every year, Pride Month.
That's right. We've got excerpts here from an article titled Pride Month is Dead. Now, that title, it immediately tells you this source has, a strong perspective.
Definitely.
And our mission in this deep dive, just to be clear, is simply to explore and understand this source's observations.
What it saw, basically.
Exactly. The examples it uses, how it interprets what it's seeing, in the cultural landscape. We're not bringing in outside views, not taking any sides here.
Right. We're here to pull out the nuggets of knowledge this piece offers you. And its core premise, stated right up front, is that Pride Month in 2024 seems to have lost its gusto.
Yeah, lost its gusto. The source argues that it's observing a noticeable shift. It suggests that perhaps people are tired or they're just straight up scared.
Tired or scared.
And a key point for the source, a really key claim, is that companies do not want to be involved anymore. So it's presenting this picture of change happening now compared to what it saw in, say, previous years.
Okay, so where does the source begin to build this case? It seems to start with, most visible sign maybe, the calendar turning to June.
It does, yeah. The article highlights June 1st, which it frames, kind of cheekily, as the official holiday for companies to change their logos to rainbow flags.
Oh, okay.
And its observation is that this year, that particular thing was notably less pervasive than in previous years.
Less logos changing, basically.
That's what it claims, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fascinating how the source describes the reaction to this perceived change.
What does it say people did?
It says this lack of visibility on June 1st started, quote, pissing people off. The article mentions people posting photos online of companies that hadn't changed their logo.
Oh, okay, like calling them out.
Kind of. Essentially asking, how could you? In 2021, you were doing all of this. In 2025, there's nothing. That's the sentiment the source describes.
Gotcha.
And the source connects this specific observation, the logo thing, to a much broader assertion. It concludes that on a whole, these big corporations, they are massively scaling back their support for Pride. That's the central trend it believes it's identifying.
Okay, so that's the main claim. Widespread scaling back. Where does the source go next? Does it give examples?
It does. It points to specific instances it views as evidence for this scaling back. One example it really focuses on is the Boise Pride kickoff party in Idaho.
Boise, Idaho.
Yeah.
Right. What does the source say happened there?
It reports that the party was canceled, flat out canceled. And the stated reason, according to the source, was low attendance despite strong online support.
Low attendance.
Yeah.
Interesting. And the source's reaction?
Quite sharp, yeah. It quotes itself saying, the biggest party of the year and you couldn't get enough people to show up. Then it adds, yeah, well, it's Idaho, you've lost them.
But wait, doesn't the source also mention that Boise itself is seen differently within Idaho?
It does, yeah. That's an important nuance it includes. It acknowledges Boise is seen as an incredibly gay and liberal city within Idaho, which, perhaps makes the cancellation even more significant from the source's perspective. Like, if it can't happen there.
Right, so the source uses this Boise event as a signal.
Exactly, a signal that, in its words, it's not happening. People are not having it in 2025. It really feeds into its overall argument about this decline in engagement.
Okay, Boise's one example. What's the other big one the source uses? I think you mentioned Target.
Yes, Target. It details what it sees as this year-over-year shift in the company's approach to Pride.
How does it lay that out?
Well, according to this article a few years back, Target made major waves.
Yeah.
And the source uses really strong language here, calling the collection insane. I mean, truly insane bride collection that included tucking underwear and tucking swimsuits for children.
Okay, strong word. Does the source explain why Target did that or what happened next?
It links that past approach directly to consequence. It claims it stemmed from a viral video from TPUSA that's Turning Point USA. And the source says this video created a huge 2-year boycott that massively impacted the company.
A boycott impacting the company. Okay, so that was a few years ago. Then what?
Then, the source says, last year, 2024, Target announced they were scaling back. And the source explicitly states this was after right-wing backlash.
Scaling back last year, and now this year, 2025.
This year, the source claims Target has gone even a step further. It says they removed the already scaled-back Pride collection display altogether. Replaced it.
Replaced it with what?
The article specifies it's the Memorial Day and 4th of July collection that is at the front of Targets around the country.
Ah, okay. So red, white, and blue instead of rainbows at the front of the store.
That's what the source reports, and it includes a specific reaction to this change, too. It references a post on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, that included a video.
And what did the video show or say?
In that video, someone is quoted saying, "Happy Pride Month. In my Target that used to have the Pride section, it's now all USA. Yay!" Kind of sarcastic, it seems.
Yeah. Sounds like it. And the source's interpretation of that reaction.
Well, the source ties it back to politics and demographics. It includes comments like, it's an American summer except for tourism, because tourism's down because no one wants to come here. USA. Woo. And the article explicitly states, and remember, this is the source's view, of course, it all goes back to Trump. It's always them. It's the white women and the boomers. That is who is running the show.
Okay, so very specific demographic claims being made by the source there, linking the target shift to a particular political group.
Right.
So the source uses Boise and Target to illustrate this perceived scaling back.
Yeah.
But did it mention any exceptions? Anyone going against this trend?
It did, yeah. An interesting one. It highlights the NFL, the National Football League. It claims the league is doing the most for Pride this year thus far.
The NFL doing the most. How so, according to the source?
The source lists activities like the league blasting logos, rainbow posts, announcing events, and it says the official NFL account is slamming retweet on every single one of those posts. Very active online.
Okay. And the source's reaction to that? To the NFL being so visible.
It's quite colorful language again. It says, oh my God, it's so embarrassing, but it's also so classic.
Embarrassing, but classic. Does it elaborate on that?
Well, it leads the source to bring up a past controversy, a 2021 NFL ad, the "Football is Gay" video. The source describes this video using, again, strong language, calls it potentially the cake on the scale of social justice, left-wing insane videos.
Wow, okay, takes the cake. What was the source's analysis of that 2021 video's message?
It kind of breaks it down like this. Football is everything, and it's for everyone. It's just, it can be whatever. It's lesbian, it's gay, it's queer, it's whatever. Then the source pushes back, suggesting, maybe football is just football. You don't need to say that it is.
So questioning the need for that specific messaging back in 2021?
Right. And interestingly, even though the NFL is, according to the source, retweeting a lot this year, the source sees the absence of a similar, big budget, highly produced video in 2025 as a positive sign.
So less is more in that specific case. From the source's viewpoint, any other reactions or exceptions mentioned?
Just a brief mention of Jennifer Garner. The article observes she's continuing visible Pride celebration. It contrasts this with others it says are toning down.
And how does the source describe her act?
Uses sarcastic language, calls it such a brave, incredible thing. And it also makes a sort of side point that her visible Pride decorations reveal where she lives.
Okay. So we've got the observations, the examples like Boise and Target, the NFL accept. Now, moving towards the end, how does the source interpret this whole shift it perceives? What's the reason it gives for this scaling back?
It summarizes its reason pretty pointedly. It says, enough was enough. We had to reach a breaking point, like the pendulum needed to shift.
The pendulum needed to shift. Why? Why did it need to shift, according to the source?
Well, the article presents an argument here. It claims Pride stopped being about gay marriage and gay rights years ago. And it draws this parallel, saying this is similar to how the source feels. Feminism stopped being about equality years ago and instead started to become about hating men and wanting to dominate.
Okay, so it's making a comparison there, arguing both movements shifted away from original goal in its view.
Exactly. And the source's concluding thought on its interpretation of where Pride went is, well, it's quite blunt. It says June, and Pride basically just became a celebration of deviancy and intersectional politics.
Deviancy and intersectional politics. Strong terms again.
Very. And it explicitly states this is something that I want nothing to do with, that half the country wants nothing to do with. So the source is framing these things, deviancy and intersectional politics, as things that moved Pride away from, say, gay rights and alienated, in its view, a large portion of the public.
And the article's final judgment on the approach it described in previous years, the pre-pendulum shift approach.
It concludes, predictably, given the rest, unsurprisingly, shoving all of that down our throats for years was far from a winning strategy.
Far from a winning strategy.
Okay, so let's try and bring together the key nuggets of insight from this specific source for you. It claims there's a a noticeable scaled-back visibility for Pride in 2025.
Right.
It backs this with examples like the Boise party cancellation, fewer corporate logos changing on June 1st, and Target's big shift away from Pride displays.
Well, also noting the NFL is still highly visible, but maybe in a different way than before.
Correct. And the source's overarching interpretation, its why, is that this shift is happening because, in its view, the movement went too far beyond its initial goals, became, in the source's specific words, about deviancy and intersectional policy.
Which, the source argues, alienated a significant portion of the public, leading to past methods being, from its perspective, not a winning strategy.
Yeah, that sums up the core argument presented.
So this deep dive has really walked you through one specific source's distinct perspective. We've looked at the evidence it uses to argue that cultural and especially corporate engagement with Pride Month is undergoing a significant change.
And just to reiterate, we focus solely on presenting the claims and interpretations within this one article.
Absolutely. So maybe a final thought for you to consider, stemming directly from this source's viewpoint. Given this source's strong claim that the pendulum needed to shift away from what it described as those past approaches, how might the ideas presented in this source, whether you agree with them or not, influence future public conversations, or maybe corporate strategies related to Pride, or even similar cultural moments, something to think about as you process this particular perspective?